Good evening, everyone. It's me again, Mick Cooper, 51 years old from Sheffield, at the beginning of my gastric sleeve journey. I did say that I'd get back to you with any updates, and I do have an update for you, so that's going to be in the next bit. But before we get there, if you do like this channel, please click on the link at the end of the video that will automatically subscribe you to any future videos. Please also like or comment or do whatever you want, but you can follow me on social media. There'll be little links clicking about on the video. I've learned how to do that now. I said I was going to try and work it out, and I'm getting there. Um, the name for the channel is Mr. Boom Gastric, or as Shaggy would say, Mr. Boom Gastric. It's as good as I could come up with, really, because Gastric Fantastic had gone. And anyway, I wanted a catchy name. But today we're going to talk about my visit to Spire Hospital in Leeds to meet my dietitian. So thanks for watching, and move on to the next part. 19th of October, I met my dietitian for the first time at Spire Leeds Hospital. We got on great. She's very straightforward, very straight talking, forthright. She didn't pull any punches. She asked a lot of questions. She wasn't just there to tick boxes and say, "Yep, there's your surgery. Thank you very much. Goodbye." She really got in my head about the psychology of food. It turns out that I am a classic example of an irregular and erratic eater. And by that, it means that whereas a lot of people will have a breakfast, a lunch, and an evening meal, or tea, as we say around here, um, I don't. Sometimes I'll have a couple of poached eggs or some tomatoes with some Rivita, which is a relatively healthy breakfast. Then I'll skip lunch and I'll skip the evening meal, and then I'll just eat and eat and eat all evening before I go to bed. And sometimes I stay up late anyway because I'll go to a Gamblers Anonymous meeting online, and it's just a bad habit that's got worse over a period of probably 17 years. Eating huge portions of food when I was losing weight was fine because it was healthy food. But now I'm eating huge portions of food and I'm gaining weight, which is not good. So we established that there's certain issues with my eating that she's concerned about. She's also spoke a lot about addiction, which I'm going to do at the end of this video because it is quite interesting what she said. The next bit I'm going to talk about is the liver shrinkage diet. So that's the next section coming up. The liver shrinkage diet that I was talking about, it's done for one reason. The way that they do the operation, it's called a laparoscopic surgery. They make 5 holes in your stomach, um, and what they do is they put tools in there, not like garden rakes and shovels, but medical instruments in there, and they basically cut away at your stomach. They take about 75-80% of your stomach away. They staple it up. Um, they move bits and pieces around, but for them to be able to get to your stomach, they have to move your liver. And because I'm overweight, uh, and because I've got a relatively fatty diet, my liver will be big. Most people's livers are a decent size. Mine will be bigger than it should be. So a liver shrinkage diet is purely there to reduce the size of the liver so they can do the surgery easier. If on the day they go in and do the surgery and I've not followed this diet 100%, the surgery will either be cancelled, or instead of doing the keyhole, they'll have to do a cut from my belly button all the way down, and then open me up and do it that way, which is a much longer recovery time. It will mean a longer stay in hospital. So I need to stick to this diet. It's 100% imperative that I do that. So the diet is very, very strict. There are 3 different options. They all work out at 800 calories a day. That is not a lot of calories. It's not a lot of food. One option is you can do it by having milkshakes, the Slim Fast shakes, that sort of thing. The other option is to do it with soups. But my dietitian, she said, you know what, you're gonna be on liquids for a period of time after the surgery. My advice is to follow the third option, and the third option is you have 30 grams of high fiber cereal in the morning. You're allowed 200 ml of milk all day, so that's going to do your tea, your coffee, your breakfast cereal. You can have the cereal, or you can have one small piece of toast with a scraping of low-fat spread on it. That's your breakfast. That's all you have. You can have a drink of tea with it. Your lunch, it is, I'm just reading it, 75 grams of lean meat, so chicken or turkey or something like that, and then a green salad. A couple of tomatoes, but not overdoing it with tomatoes. It's a green salad. You can then have for your lunch, for your evening meal, your tea, as we say in Yorkshire, it's 75 grams of lean meat. It's 50 grams of boiled potatoes and leafy green vegetables. So you can't have stuff like swede or carrot or parsnip or anything like that. It's leafy green veg. You're allowed 200 ml of milk. You're allowed 2 pieces of fruit and a multivitamin. That's it. 800 calories for 2 weeks. And if I don't follow it, either I don't get the surgery or it's a bigger operation, so I need to follow it. It's scary, really, to see what I've been eating and what I'm going to be eating for the first 2 weeks. But I'm going to do it. I'm bloody well going to do it, because I don't like spending money. I really don't. And I've got to justify what I'm doing. This is going to be life changing. It really is. So I've got a really good support network. I'm going to get everything planned out in the next couple of weeks, and I'll be ready for it. So that's the liver shrinkage diet. Now I'm going to talk about the diet directly after the operation. The post-operative eating plan is split into 4, and it's spread over, they estimate, 12 weeks from start to finish. Starts with liquids only, then it goes on to pureed food, then moves on to soft textured food, and then eventually you get to the part where you can eat normal textured food. If you want more information on the different stages, go and Google it. I've literally got this book, which I'm only just going to start reading tonight. I've really focused on the pre-op diet rather than this one, but it's pretty much straightforward. It explains what you can and can't eat. Look at stuff to avoid. No fatty foods at all. No sugary foods. There's a condition called dumping that can occur. So, and dumping, the way that she described dumping, it's horrific. It basically makes your heart speed up. It makes you sweat. It makes you ache. The only thing that you feel like doing is laying down, and that can be like 2 hours. You might have to lay down for 2 hours until the feeling's gone, and that's purely because you've not checked what you're eating. If it's got fat in it, high fat, if it's got high sugar, that can cause dumping, and if you get it, apparently it's horrific. But the stages can change in this diet. Some people might only be on liquids for a week. Others might be on it for 2 to 3 weeks. The second stage, the pureed food, some might be on it for 2 weeks. Others might be on it for 4 to 5 weeks. The third stage, the soft, it can be 2 weeks, 3 weeks. It might be 5 weeks. But roughly they say it's about 12 weeks. But every single patient is different. So we'll just have to see where it goes with that. But like I say, I've got my reading cut out. That's the pre-op 800 cal diet. That's the sleeve gastrectomy post-op diet. And I'm saying diet, it's not a diet. The first, the 800 calorie one is, that's restrictive. The second one is it's a new lifestyle for me. It's not something that I can do for a period of 6 months, and then if I fancy having a cheat and going out and having a curry and what have you, I can't do that. It will make me ill. I know that. It's what I've signed up to. It means that if I go out for a curry with Dawn and Wayne, I'll have a starter. I'll make that last while they're eating their starter and the naan bread and what have you. The other interesting thing that comes along with this diet is when you start on your soft textured and you start on any food other than liquids, and I found this quite fascinating. It's called the 30-30-30. So 30 minutes before you eat, that has to be the last time that you drink fluid. So then you wait 30 minutes, you eat. When you've eaten, and what do we do when we have a meal? We sit there with a glass of pop or a cup of tea, cup of coffee. You cannot do that. So 30 minutes before, that's when you stop drinking. Then you eat your meal, and you should make any meal last 30 minutes. Every mouthful has to be chewed 30 times or 20 times, until it's like in a mush. You're basically doing the work of the stomach in your mouth. You're chewing it down. You're mashing it all up so it's easier to digest because your stomach's smaller and you've got less stomach acid. So you need to do some of the work for it. And then you cannot drink until 30 minutes after. Some surgeons say 20-20-20, but I'm going to stick to the 30-30-30 and see how we go. I'm not going to try any shortcuts. I'm going to do as I'm told. Probably for the first time in my life, I'm going to do as I'm told. But that's the eating plan. There's a couple of other bits that I'll tag on at the end of this. Just other bits that we spoke about. And you might be quite fascinated by this. So that's the end of this bit about the diets. So let's talk about a subject I know quite a bit about, addiction. I'm a compulsive gambler, for those that don't know. Many of you do, but I last had a bet on the 31st of May 2013, and since that day, my life has changed immeasurably. If it wasn't for stopping gambling, I probably wouldn't be self-funding this surgery, because every single penny that I used to have went on gambling. My brothers and sisters in recovery in Gamblers Anonymous will associate with that, because we didn't have any other priority other than getting money to gamble with. Nothing else mattered. But talking to Janine about my gambling addiction, because it is part of my makeup, we talked about other potential addictions and other potential pitfalls in the weeks, the months, the years after this surgery. So the first one that springs to mind is, I think I did have somewhat of an addiction to losing weight and to going to the gym and training to excess, and almost getting that buzz from being the Slimmer of the Week at Slimming World. And there's nothing wrong with being Slimmer of the Week if you're wired up correctly, but I'm not wired up correctly. I'm an addict, so I used to do it to the extremes. I would sometimes, not every single week. I'm not going to say I did this every single week, but if I'd lost 3 or 4 pounds in a week, and I thought, well, this week I'd like to win Slimmer a week, I'd make sure that I lost more than 3 or 4 pounds by cutting weight, going to a sauna, or training with a bin liner on. I've done it. I've done it all. I apologise to my Slimming World consultants that are still following me on this, or friends of mine on Facebook, but it's what addicts do. They lie about certain things, and I'd got addicted to that buzz. I would cut 7 or 8 pounds some weeks, and that's quite a big ask. I've got friends that are professional and high-ranking amateur mixed martial artists that will cut weight to get to their weight, but they may do that every 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, 12 months, whatever. They won't be doing it every week or every month as I was doing it at Slimming World. So that's not something to be proud of, but I want to be honest about it. We also got on to topic of any other addictions. Now, I don't drink. I've not had a drink for, I don't know, 17 years, something like that. When I used to drink, as some of you will know, I used to drink quite excessively. I used to enjoy going out and getting ratted, as they said, but I tend not to go out. I don't really like pubs and clubs and where have you. It's not my thing. I'm far happier in a bird eye with me photography gear, looking at wildlife. I just don't really get anything out of going into a pub. But I used to drink to excess, and I used to gamble to excess, and I used to train to excess, and I used to lose weight to excess. I've also got issues with sort of, I wouldn't call it hoarding, but I hold on to things that I don't need. I decided to really go into this weight loss thing with a completely different mindset, and over the last week, I've thrown a ridiculous amount of stuff away. I've had Wayne's been to tip, took stuff for me, and I've took stuff out, and yeah, it's been quite therapeutic to see how much junk I actually hold on to. Chances are now that I've thrown away some computer screens, one of you lot's going to ring me up and say, "Mick, have you got a screen for a 2008 Dell?" And I've just chucked them all in Skip, and they're 200 quid on eBay. So it's one of those things, but I need to accept it. But what she said, this really sort of hit me. She says, "You've been stopped gambling 9.5 years. You've not drunk for 17 years. You don't do drugs. But be aware that if you're removing food, which is your substitute for your other addictions," and she identified that. I didn't say that, but she's probably right. Be aware that there might be a relapse in something. Now, as far as gambling goes, I'm not going to say it's impossible for me to gamble, but it is very difficult for me to gamble because of the things that I've got in place. So I have to be mindful of anything that crops up with that. But it makes sense. You look to replace one thing with another. She told me a lot of things that I were doing that were bad for me. One of which is I don't have a table and chairs. I used to have some, and I never used them, so I gave them away. So I always sit watching TV, eating my tea or my dinner or whatever, paying no attention to what I'm eating, just putting it in. And if you're honest, and you sat watching this, do you sit and do you mindfully look at every single thing that you're eating and enjoy every single mouthful? I know I don't. I don't chew food. I chuck it in. I sometimes post it. It's like almost putting a letter in a letterbox. That's what I'm like. That's my disrespect for food. So I've got to change things around. So I'm going to buy a table and chairs. Simple as that. I'm going to make eating an event. Rather than it just being part of me watching a CSI episode or something on TV, I'll make it an event. Half an hour, I'll sit down, I will eat. I'll make time. If that means I watch less TV, fine. If that means that I do less GA meetings, fine, I'll do it. I need to make these changes for things in my life to get better. I want to live to be in my 80s, 90s, whatever. If I don't do something about it, I'm not going to live in my 60s. That's the cold light of day That's the reality that I've got. I know that, and Dawn and Wayne, who are my best friends, know that, and they know how much this means to me. And I hope you that are following me realise that this is not something that I've just thought like that. I'm going to do it. I woke up Monday morning. Hey, I'm going to have a gastric sleeve. I've not. I've done a lot of research, so it's life changing. The next bit that's on here is very painful for me to talk about, but it will benefit me in the long term, and it will benefit anyone else that's starting this journey. And it's the bit I hate. It's looking at who I am in the mirror. What I actually look like. So that's the next part, folks. It's the last bit of the video. So remember, after that, when there's some photos that's going to be put on, click on the subscribe button if you want. Cool. So when I was looking into this gastric sleeve procedure, I looked at a lot of videos on YouTube, I read a lot of blogs, and they all had one thing in common. And I can only imagine the pain that they went through, because I went through the same pain last night and it wasn't good. And that's the before picture. And I'm not talking a picture of me now. If I'm sat in this seat, you see my top half, yeah? And I specifically sit like this because it's my barrier. You can't see what's going on below my waist. I might be dancing. Who knows? I'm not, but I might be dancing. What I'm saying is, you don't see the whole picture. I've got clothes on. You can't see what I'm like. Every single one of these videos and every single one of these posts on Facebook and Instagram have got the bad before picture. So I thought, you know what? If I'm going to do this, I'm going to do it right. I asked a mate of mine, Wayne, if he'd do it, if he'd take the photo, and he said, yeah, he would, because he's that kind of guy. He's a decent bloke. I'm just glad that he didn't. I'm relieved that he didn't, and I'm relieved that I did it myself last night, because it messed me up for a good bit after I took it. I don't really care what I look like. I don't really care what I dress like. I wear t-shirts, I wear shorts. I'm fat Mick, I'm big Mick, I'm whatever you want to call me. I'm that guy that can make you laugh. I'm that guy that will sit and listen to you and try and help you if you've got a problem with gambling or addiction. But you don't see the bit behind closed doors when, like last night when I took these photos, I despised myself. I felt ill looking at what I'd become. When I'm thinking about how many 10Ks that I ran and how many hours that I've spent in gym over the years, and I know I can say about injuries, but let's face it, I eat too much food. As Jasper Carrott, a British comedian, once said, it's because the cake hole is bigger than the arsehole. That's the bottom line. I eat too much food. The photos scared me senseless. I didn't sleep much, and as much as it pains me to do it, and it's one of those things on like when you watch it news, if you are of a squeamish nature, look away now. That's what I'm saying. It's me in a pair of boxer shorts looking like a big fat I can say that. I can call myself whatever I want to call myself, and I called myself a lot worse than that last night. I sat crying for a good period of time, and then I went on a GA meeting and I felt a lot better. But I've got a lot of shit to sort out. You know, I'm not talking about me gambling issues. That's sorted by attending GA, but the psychological effect of being overweight and looking like I do, and that's the first photo I've took like that. I've always took before photos of me just in my t-shirt and shorts, and a baggy t-shirt hides so much. Baggy shorts hide so much. These photos didn't. So you've been warned. If you are of a nervous disposition, please look away now. Well, not now, because I'm just going to say goodbye. Subscribe if you want to. If you don't, I'm not really bothered, but it'd be nice if you did. So click the link at the end of the photos and join this channel. I really appreciate you watching this. I hope my humour, my emotion, and everything in between comes over. I'm doing it for me, but I'm also hopefully it might inspire you to do it if gastric sleeve or gastric bypass surgery is the way to go for you. So take care. I will be doing more videos leading up to what will be a pretty nerve-wracking thing. So until then, be seeing you.